Hi, I'm Hans Lysglimt, and it's April 12, 2010. I'm here in Oslo, and this video is directed to the people of Iceland. I've made a couple of videos specifically directed to the people of Iceland and gotten quite a lot of views there, and I know I have a lot of viewers and fans in Iceland. So I'm sitting here on a wonderful spring day in Oslo, Norway. I'll show you the fjord and I'll show you what it looks like. Hopefully it's a nice day even in Reykjavik and all over Iceland, but spring has surely come here, and I actually advise people from Iceland to move to Norway. I mean, the economy is much better here. I'll make a separate video about that. I'll watch for that other video too. But what we're going to talk about now is Icesave, the economy on Iceland, and going forward. I salute you for saying no, and keep the fight up. You know, don't give in, don't cave in, and you know, do as much as you did last time or even more to fight that Icesave agreement. They're going to try to come back with new kinds of agreements and new deals and whatever, just to save sort of the structure and the power establishment and save the international corporations and all that. But as I've told you before, Iceland is a very special case on something that's true for all over the world, all over the Western world, all the modern nations, all over. The only thing different is that most nations have a central bank and an economic policy being able to sort of absorb the shock of the financial crisis on their own balance sheet. So they've borrowed money and they've issued debt and they covered over the financial crisis domestically in their own country and also across countries and helping out each other, like they just did now with Greece. They made an agreement yesterday on Sunday to bail out Greece and lend them, was it $30 billion or euros or whatever, and by doing that they're able, sort of within the same political structure, to bail out each other through taking on the risk on their balance sheet. But with Iceland it's different, because you're a tiny little island, not in the EU, not in the US, with your own currency, with your own economy, with your own central bank. You're not falling in under any of these structures. So the problem in Iceland all of a sudden became extremely visible and tangible by the fact that you had the bailout going on in Holland and the UK, and the problem sort of, or the bill being sent to Iceland. Had Iceland been part of the EU, you probably would have sold this already inside the EU. I would not recommend that, and it wouldn't be a good thing, because then the whole EU is going to fail eventually, like what they're doing now with Greece. They would have bailed out Iceland. So the only difference is that due to your independence and your independent political structure, the whole problem became visible, apparent, up in the day, where what everyone else is just papering over, you had to deal with up front. And it's great, because what you've done is, by saying no, you've set a precedent for how this is going to be dealt with in other countries later on, in other economies. They didn't do it in Greece, of course, they papered it over, but when it comes down to what the people will decide, you've set the precedent. You're saying, no, enough. You put down the foot. You say, we're not going to take this, we're not going to pay up. And I salute you for that. It's great. You've set the, you will enable other people to be courageous about this. They will say, look at what the Icelanders did. They said no, we should say no too. And you should say no, because the governments, the banks, the power structure, the big corporations, the national states, they're bailing out each other to stay in power, to keep the power structure going. That's what it's all about. Against the people. You know, the democratic system has failed. The power elite now, they do what they like. They're not responsible to the people anymore. They have their system, they have their structure. It has to be kept up. So what you did was courageous, but please Iceland, look at it that way. Don't look at it in the way of sort of, oh, we're not going to pay, and we're going to stick the bill to the Dutch and the British because they're bad, and we're good on Iceland. And it's not, that's not how it works. And also sort of going after the crooks in the Icelandic banks that enabled all these losses is only makes sense to a very limited extent, because it's the system that's the problem. It's the whole political system, infrastructure, the whole scaffolding that's the problem. And it's important to realize that and communicate that and talk about that with each other. It's not like you got away with paying, you know, whatever to the Dutch and the British. What you did was expose a global problem before it's exposed everywhere else. You're 5, 10, 15 years ahead of the curve. And that's the way you have to look at it. And I hope people from Iceland that are truth seekers will go around the world preaching what you did and telling other people, the people, not the politicians, but the people of other countries, how to deal with it, how you communicated with the people, how you raised the awareness and how you raised the political process enabling you to say no to all of this. Because if you think you just got away with a big bill, then what you did was meaningless. I mean, you got away with it, okay, hooray. Doesn't mean anything. But in the larger scheme of things, if you were the first one to say no to the crash that's inevitable all over the Western world, and people rising up saying, no, we're not going to pay this, well then what you did when you said no is very meaningful and extremely important. Thank you.